Let's talk resume or your recipe, or rather, more to the point, more the ingredient list part of your recipe with a bit of a hint as to what can come out of it. Okay, so this is the most probably common, the first thing that comes to mind when you think, oh, I'm looking for a new job. I need to do a resume for certain areas. Okay, there are some fields that you're in where a resume is not necessary at all. You walk in, they test you out, you get hired or not hired for a job. So it is not universal. Not everybody has to write a resume, um, and but a lot of us do. And the purpose a resume serves, it's sort of the first step of that test. So let's say you're in a field that doesn't really require too many resumes. Here, let's say you want your chef, the cooking theme. And I know a common way of hiring a chef is to, go into a place that you want to work and get tested. Basically, give a couple days, a day or two or three of your work, so the owner can see whether you what you're capable of, and whether you're going to fit in with the rest of the team, and whether you're going to be successful. And then you get hired based on that. For a lot of areas, that is not really an option. An employer's not going to take you for a day or a couple of days to see. It's just not how things work. So a resume is one of your primary proof points of your ingredients, what you bring to the table, what you can do. It's become a standard practice to include that in applications, along with cover letters for a lot of areas. But I'll talk about those later. Um, I'm not gonna show you resume examples here because you can find plenty of them online. Just type in resume or best resumes into your favorite search engine, and you'll have a lot of images and examples come up. Um, these things are also subject to trend and subject to who's going to read them, what area you're going into. Just like with a recipe, it has to speak to the audience. So, this is some like old school recipe book, and that's it. This is your recipe, this is your list of ingredients, and the recipe is right here. This is how resumes started, or resumes, or CVs as well. The term is used interchangeably in North America. It is not used interchangeably elsewhere. Europe and the rest of the world, the commonly used term is CV. If you are in North America, that term for CV just means resume. In North America, there is a slight distinction between resume and CV. Resumes is, the more standard um, page or 2 pages for the application. A CV is more strictly academic. So if you're in the academic space, if you're a professor and you highlight a list of your accomplishments and publish what you've published and things like that. So there's a change, a distinction between those terms, although a lot of employers aren't even aware of that, so don't worry about it, basically. But a bit of history of resumes. They started as basically a list of your history, your work history, and your educational history. And that's what they were. They were pretty standard, they were pretty basic, they were pretty similar in look and feel to something like this. Um, bare bones, no nonsense, just, fill out this form, tell me what you've done. Over time, these things have evolved and matured and become ever more complicated in many ways. So these days you have resumes that look new and fresh and different, and have all of these different sections in addition to your work experience and your education, your skills, your technical skills, They used to have things like the objective, what you want to do. Now they have a bit of a profile. You can put your volunteer experience on there. You can put your additional education on there. You can put your hobbies on there if you so desire, and if it makes sense for the job. But the look and feel has updated, and they're a little bit more fresh. This is not a resume. it's an actual recipe. But we started adding little visuals to this, and making them look a little bit more updated. The purpose of that really is to show that you are current in the market and that your skills are current. So these things are subject to trend. The resume is now a document that is very much subject to trend. And every few years, the look and feel of it changes slightly. So you'll notice that. The entire point of the resume, though, is to have a proof point, to have like a list of your skills and your education and your experiences. Right now, it means as it relates to the position that you're applying for. So from strictly a list of, your work history, the document has morphed into an advertising document for the position that you're applying for. Right? So it's a showpiece in and of itself. Basically, when you apply for a job, if you're when I was younger and you'd go and look for your first job, and you might go to the mall and you print off like your little resume, you have it written out, and you might show it to the store owner to see if you can to show that you're serious and professional, and that when you're applying for a job. These days, if you are online or working in a job that has sort of like any bureaucratic type of element to it, you're going to probably upload your resume as part of your application for a job that you're applying for, that you found on in any online portal. And it is going to be a 1 or 2 page resume, depending on your experience, the industry you're applying for, the type of job that you're applying for, the preferences of the employer. And it's going to have basically act as, a history or proof of what you have accomplished when it comes to your human resources record if you get hired, but primarily first base if you're competing against other people, and that is the primary way in which the first thing that they see, it's going to be a quick scan as an advertising document of whether you're fit for that role. So always when building it, keep that in mind. Okay, it is not actually at this point in time a history of all of your work experience. It is not you on a piece or 2 pieces of paper. It is simply an advertising document for the position you're applying for, and that is the function that it has to serve. So it is your ingredient list, tweaked and tailored, and not tailored, they have to be true, but highlight for the recipe for the type of job that you're hoping to do, for the dish that you're hoping to cook up with it. So that's that in a nutshell. The way that it's looked at, okay, as an advertising document, is first generally you get a quick glance. They say studies tell us now it takes 6 seconds or less for a recruiter to make up their mind when looking at your resume of whether they want to read further or put it aside. So it has to look good, it has to look clean, it has to be easy to read, and it has to really highlight your key ingredients or key skills and characteristics and experiences as they relate to the position that you're applying for. If you notice in even a recipe book like this, okay, so this is obviously not a resume, but a recipe. Notice how there is a visual at the top, and that catches your attention. And then the name of the recipe is right here, and the ingredients. that makes sense visually as to how we look at a document. So our eyes tend to linger at the top third of the page. So in a one-page resume, or even two-page resume, basically they're only going to look at the first page. Basically, the key information has to be right there. Okay, the most important information has to be right there. So I think I'm going to leave it at that for now, except to say that it is a confusing thing because you will see a lot of different examples of these things online. And every time you have somebody take a look at it and review your document for you, you're going to get different advice. Keep in mind the whole purpose and function of this thing. It is an advertising document for the position you're applying for, and whoever is looking at it has their lens on it. So if you have people from different industries and backgrounds and experiences looking at it, they're probably going to give you different advice. In the end, it has to make sense to you, and it has to make sense to your target audience. There are two actual rules for resume, only two real resume rules, and they are: it has to be accurate, completely true, and grammatically impeccable. So beyond that, it is, it's a pretty wide open field with a lot of suggestions based on what's current and at the moment, right? Just like our flavors or our palate changes, things that were really popular dishes 100 years ago, probably not things that we eat right now. Okay? So I hope that was helpful, and yeah, join me next time. Bye.